The Chart Spotlight, episode 26. Hey everybody, what's up? Yanni Lunga here and welcome to this 26th episode of the Jazz Spotlight podcast. Another great guest here and I'm really excited about that. But before I go more into details about today's guest, I want to tell you a couple of things, because now in addition to, SoundCloud, the website, Stitcher, YouTube, you can find the podcast on two new places, Spreaker and Mixcloud. So if you are using those platforms, you can find the podcast at thejazzspotlight.com/Mixcloud for the Mixcloud platform, or thejazzspotlight.com/Spreaker for the Spreaker platform. Back to today's guest. You remember last week I had the sensational Didi Bridgewater here on the podcast, who talked about her career, many great things, and also gave some advice to, musicians and singers. Similar to what Zara McFarlane did on episode 19, she also gave some advice to singers. And I have another fantastic singer here today who's gonna talk about her inspiration, her latest album that has just been released very recently, and she's gonna talk about her future plans. She's Cyrille Aimée, ladies and gentlemen. Cyrille Aimée is here on the show today. So, like always, just remember that you find the links to all the things Cyrille and I talked about at thejazzspotlight.com/episode 26. And I would also like to invite you to leave a review and ratings to the iTunes page of the podcast. So please spend a minute to go to thejazzspotlight.com/show to give a short review and short ratings to the podcast. I would really appreciate that. Now let's get down to business and have some fun. Here is a Jazz Talk with Cyrille Aimée. Enjoy. Hey, what's up everyone? Yanni Lunga here from the Jazz Spotlight podcast, and welcome to this new episode. Another great guest here today, another great singer. You remember maybe from episode 19, I had Zara McFarlane on the podcast, and more recently, episode 25, I had Didi Bridgewater on the podcast, and they talked about their careers, they gave some advice. And today, I have another great singer here. She's gonna tell us more about herself, about her new album that I just hit the stores around a week ago, and she also gonna give out some advice. So if you're a singer or you're planning to to start singing, this episode is definitely for you. Let's get started right immediately, because I want to hear from her. It's with great pleasure that I welcome on the show Cyrille Aimée. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. First of all, thank you for being on the podcast. I'm really excited about this episode.
I'm excited too.
All right, let's get started. Let's take a couple of steps back. Let's start from your childhood. You grew up in France. You were born in Saumur-sur-Seine, the hometown of the legendary Django Reinhardt. And it's interesting that you have an interesting background, that your mom is Dominican and your dad is French. And I was reading in an interview that you said that you have been traveling and living abroad quite a lot in different places. Is that correct?
Yeah, my father moved around a lot, and so we followed. And so by the time I was 20, I had already lived in 4 different continents.
That's unbelievable. It's incredible. I feel jealous that you've been traveling so much. And how do you think your cultural background and the fact that you have been living in 4 continents, and you have been traveling so much, how do you think that has impacted you both as a person as a singer?
A lot. It impacted me a lot as a person. Like you say, you become very adaptable. You get it's easier for you to adapt to different cultures, and then musically, as a musician, it's very enriching, because not just the musical experiences, but meeting different people, discovering new cultures, and listening to different types of music. It's really makes you grow as a musician.
And you mentioned different types of music. What were your influences growing up? Were there some singers in particular that you were a big fan of, and you kind of tried to follow their footsteps?
Yeah. When I was little, my parents are not musicians, but they love music. My mother loves to dance, and she would always put salsa and merengue in the house. And my father liked classical music. But when I met the family of Django Reinhardt, the Gypsies, I became really in love with this type of music and jazz in particular. And I think my first biggest crush was Ella Fitzgerald.
Okay, a very, very big name. And how about today? Are there some artists today that are still influencing you?
Every day. Since Ella, there's been so many, and today I really like how the people that are making music are younger and younger, because the internet helps a lot the kids to get inspired, and so people are making music earlier, and I really love the new young artists. And as jazz singers, there's a lot of French jazz singers that I like. I also love Becca Stevens and Gretchen Parlato and many bands.
And your first stage experience, I was reading that it was at the age of 14 at the Django Festival, and you said that there was a crowd of about 3,000 people, like pretty big deal. What do you remember about that moment?
I remember that I was trembling like a leaf. I was really, 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 really nervous, and but at the same time, I still remember the feeling of excitement and the feeling that I wanted to do this again and again and again.
And today, some years later, is there a performance in particular where you had similar kind of feeling?
Yeah, I have this often.
Okay.
I like a club in New York called Smalls Jazz Club, and it's got a big past to it, a lot of history to this club. A lot of great legends played there, and it's always packed with musicians. And whenever I play there, I get nervous because I know everyone in the audience is a musician. But also I got this feeling this year when I played on that same stage, the Django Reinhardt Festival in my hometown, for the first time as my own act with my own band, and it was really intense because I knew it was 5,000 people and I knew everybody.
And it's like you have had an incredible career, and I think what is also really interesting about your career is the fact that you have participated in quite many prestigious vocal competitions, singing competitions like the Montreux Jazz Festival vocal competition, the really famous Thelonious Monk jazz vocal competition. How do you think it changes between performing at a competition like those and performing at a jazz festival or jazz club?
It's very different. The nerves that you have are different kind of nerves, and you know that when you're playing a concert, no one is judging you. And here the point is that you're playing for judges.
By the way, sorry to interrupt you. Are you sure no one is judging you? Because you said a moment ago at Smalls that that.
Oh yeah, well the musicians, they want to see what you got, but they're not gonna give me a grade or. But in a concert you can it's easier to concentrate on just having fun, and it's a little harder in the competition. But I think the point is that you have to imagine that it's a concert, and it's just harder to go through that mentally, but that's what you have to do.
And some of the listeners of the podcast are music students or are just starting out with performing, singing. What kind of advice would you have for those that maybe are thinking about participating in a competition? What kind of advice would you have for them?
I would say just really have fun and really be yourself. Don't try to to be to prove anything. Don't try to become better. Just be exactly how you like to be and natural.
No, that's very good advice, because I think that sometimes maybe because of the pressure of judges being there, many participants feel like, okay, I have to do this when this is not something they would usually do.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about performing at clubs and festivals? What tips would you have for your colleague and artists who are performing at festivals and venues, especially for, like, you have been traveling so much, so you have been also in contact with so many different audiences and culture. What advice do you have?
I think I would give the advice that was given to me a while ago, which is to try to speak to the audience and don't be afraid, because I remember I'm fine when I sing, and then in between the songs I would get all tense and didn't know what to say and wouldn't say anything. And it really makes a difference when you have something to say about the song, or when you look at the audience and be nice, because they came from they chose that one night, they bought a ticket, they came to see you, so you have to acknowledge their presence.
No, that's very true, and in a way it like kind of connects with something Jamie Cullum said on episode 21, because at some point he talked about performance, so also the kind of the performing side of being an artist. So like you said, kind of what to do in between songs, or after the concert. So it was definitely a very good advice that you gave, and to try to I mean, I don't know, because I'm not an artist, but I think that, for example, to kind of see if it's a festival, for example, to see who has played before you, or to to kind of say something about the place. So some small thing that I know, because I've been in the audience, I know that people really like to hear like those kind of things. And now another question about gigs before we go more into your new album. You have now released quite many albums, and how do you choose a set for a gig, in the sense that how do you make sure that someone that had just found out about you with It's a Good Day also kind of get to know more about you with your past? How do you combine kind of your past and present in a way with the sets?
My present is filled with my past. It's in there because it's through there that I got here. But I guess I like sets that are very varied. I like to sing in different languages. I like different tempos, different styles, and I love, for me, lyrics are very important. I like to really make sure lyrics are something that I can relate to and the audience can relate to. And also, everything depends of the band I'm playing with. If I'm playing with the band I'm playing with these days, my new band from It's a Good Day, we like to play the repertoire from that album. If I play with the Cyrille band, which is my more straight ahead band, we play more standards, jazz standards. When I play with Diego, the Brazilian guitar player I recorded some duo records with, we do more Brazilian songs and French songs, and we have different arrangements with every band.
And a last question before going to the about your album. You have performed in so many cities, countries, venues, festivals. Is there a place that you haven't been yet, or a couple of places that you haven't been yet, that you would love to perform to?
Oh, many.
Okay, let's hear it.
I like to perform more in South America, because I've only performed there in a couple countries like Brazil and Ecuador. But I know that a lot of my fans, because I can see on Facebook, a lot of them are from there, because I guess since I speak Spanish, we can connect. Also, I'd like to play in Russia for some reason. So yeah, I'd love to play some more there. And I mean, everywhere. I want to play more in France because I haven't played there a lot, and it's my country. And I want to go to. I want to play in China. I want to play in Russia. Many places.
Quite many places. I really hope for you that you will be able to bring your music to those countries. And who knows, maybe some festival organizers, from those countries or club owner is listening to the podcast right now. So you never know. Finger crossed. Now, let's talk about It's a Good Day. It's been about a week since the record has hit the stores. And on September 9th, there is the release party in New York City at the Rockwood Music Hall. So, I'm sure that, New Yorkers are really excited about that. And, what can they expect from the release party? Why should they be there?
Oh, because they should. It's gonna be a party, so it's gonna be really fun. And we're gonna be playing all the brand new music from the record, from It's a Good Day. And I think we're all so excited that it's gonna show on stage.
Sounds like the place to be. Rockwood Music Hall, September 9th. If you're in New York, that's the place to be. And now tell us a little bit more about It's a Good Day. Where did you get the inspiration for this latest record?
I went really deep inside myself and tried to figure out who I am as a musician, which is a really difficult thing, because as a musician, when you grow and you learn, you get inspired by so many other artists and you try to emulate them, and then you find another one and you try to emulate this one, and then at some point you took pieces of everything, not just artists but also places you've been and people you've met and things that happened to you, and so it's at some point you have to. I wanted to stop and realize what I am really, what can I bring to the music, and I realized I really love guitar. I really love gypsy guitar, which is where I'm coming from. But then I met Diego from Brazil, and so I really love Brazilian guitar. I worked a lot with Brazilian guitar, and I came to New York to study jazz, and so I love jazz guitar too. So I decided to just take all these three guitars, which are very different sounding, nylon string, steel string, and electric, and put them together in a band with bass and drums. And so with this band that I put together, we became really, really good friends, and so the work after that was really easy and fun to do, looking for songs, writing songs, going through YouTube and finding the best song to cover that hasn't been covered yet, and arranging jazz standards to our own way, and so it was really a great process, and now we're so proud of it, and we have a lot of fun performing it.
And it's a interesting thing that you mentioned, the importance of kind of the connection with the members of the band, because in a way it's something that people kind of take for granted, that when they see a band they think like, okay, they're like brothers and sisters or brothers and whatever, but it's not always like that. And it's something that my colleague of Snarky Puppy talked about on episode 5. He kind of talked about the band and how they have that deep connection. But now back more into your album. Which is your favorite It's a Good Day song? Do you have a favorite one?
It's like I was telling you about with my sets. I think the CD is like that too. It's very varied. There's many different styles and different. I sing in French. Some are my own songs, so it's difficult to choose. The whole record has really one sound because of the band sound that we really worked on. But I think my favorite might be All Love. It's a ballad that was composed by the son of Django Reinhardt, Babik, and I wrote some lyrics to it. And while we were recording it in the studio, Adrian and I, the gypsy guitarist in the band, we were almost crying because we met Babik and we were at his funeral, and it was really heavy atmosphere in the studio. And after the take, Adrian told me he didn't breathe for the whole recording.
No, yeah, I mean, I bet that must have been a really kind of emotional experience, and I'm sure that probably every time you perform that song, you feel something really deep into your heart. And a question about kind of marketing aspects of releasing a new album. You have now, we've mentioned this release party again, September 9th, New York City. And what are the steps you think artists should take when releases new material? How do you, for example, yourself, how do you inform your followers of you have a new CD coming out, you have a release party coming out? How do you promote that?
Well, Facebook is really, for me, it's really helpful, but to build a fan base you need years. It takes years to build a good strengthy fan base, also as well as an email list, and the website and YouTube videos and a CD release party. All these things come together.
Yeah. And what are now your plans for the future? Now you have just released the album, so obviously you will bring that, around the world. And do you have something to share with us? Where are you gonna be this autumn, in September, October, and the following months?
Yeah, we have a big tour coming up. Well, it starts with the CD release party on September 9th at Rockwood, and then we're gonna tour a little bit in the United States. Then in October we go to the West Coast. In November we come back to Europe. We go to France, London, and a lot of dates. And then after that it'll be a second record.
And now that you mentioned second record, I have to ask you, do you have already kind of any idea, or is just it's at the back of your mind, but you haven't thought about it yet? You have just released the new one, you are focused on that?
Well, actually no. Actually I already know that I want to do it with this band, because it's a brand new band, and we're like a family, and because we've played so much together, we have many songs, and so we already have a record worth of new songs to do.
Okay, and do you have, now I'm sorry, but I have to ask, I'm sure that your fans also want to know, do you have a kind of an idea of when it would be? Would it be at the end of 2015 or 2016? Do you kind of already have an idea?
No, I have no idea. It depends on the label. The label is the one that decides the dates, when to put it out and everything. But we're all ready to record.
Okay, but sounds exciting. So you're gonna be in the US in September, West Coast, East Coast, and then back to Europe in October. So
November, yeah.
In November, sorry. Yeah, it sounds like fun. And if people would like to learn more about you, about your music, sign up for your newsletter, know about your tours, where can they find you? You mentioned Facebook.
Yeah, I have a Facebook fan page. I also have a website, which is CyrilleMusic.com. Cyrille, like my name, Cyrille, music.com. And yeah, there you can join the email list. You can see videos. You can buy CDs and see photos. Read.
Yeah, and I will make sure to to put the links of the things we have talked about at the post that goes with this episode, so that listeners can find all the things. Cyrille, before we wrap up this episode, I have to ask you, could you spend some 15-20 seconds to sing us something, really, whatever you like, in whichever language you like?
I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never blinked back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm beginning to see the light.
That was wonderful. Cyrille Aimée, Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it, and good luck with this upcoming tour.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody, we are back. Cyrille, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you, and it was a pleasure having you on. And, I hope you have a great time at the release party that is coming really soon. So Rockwood Music Hall, New York City, be there. So now about the Jazz Spotlight. You know that the podcast is going to bring you more guests, more resources, more interesting episodes every week. But speaking of, great resources and interesting stuff, there is the new Ultimate Jazz Festivals Guide for the month of September that has just been published. So, if you're thinking about where the great jazz festivals are taking place in September, or maybe you're about to travel and are thinking, I would like to listen to some great live jazz, that's the guide to use. And you can find it at thejazzspotlight.com/September 2014. So just type in September and then 2014, and you will be redirected to the Jazz Festivals Guide page for the month of September. And here is what I can tell you about the guide. It's really exciting. The Jazz Guide features over 60 festivals happening in North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Super cool. If you like it, make sure to share it with people that you think could use it and could benefit from it. And of course, if you're blogging about music or festival, traveling, or most importantly jazz, feel free to share it and maybe tweet about it so I can thank you personally. I can give you a shout out. So this is it for today. Thank you so much for being with me today. Looking forward to next week. I'm Yanni Lunga, and this is the Jazz Spotlight Podcast. Take care.